Call the March 2025 meeting of the MTA Finance Committee to order. Thank you for being here. It is not as late in the day as it used to be, but it certainly is last. That was a humor line. No one laughed, but okay. Anyway, David, the public speakers, please.
Thank you. We have 5 public speakers today. The first one remote is Maddie Bucky's Highland. Just as a reminder, we limit everybody to 2 minutes. There'll be a beep with 30 seconds remaining. Maddie, you're first.
Thanks, David, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maddie Bucky's Highland, and I'm an advocate for people with disabilities. I'm going to take you all on a trip back to 2005 today in relation to this project because I saw some stuff MTA PCAC that they may want to increase the MTA sales tax on it, which we pay 3/8 of 1% here. The last time that was achieved was in 2005 under then the governor of George Pataki, the commissioner of taxation and finance for the state, Andrew Cinnamon Aristoff, who is related to the Prince Simon's Cinnamon Aristoff of Georgia, and under the MTA chairman Peter Clarkow and its executive director Catherine M. Katie Lapp. If these increases come to fruition, these might be a good idea. We can't afford to pay any more in taxes. I can't to raise the sales tax or anything. Well, I do agree that congestion pricing is necessary, as Chair Zuckerman put it. We need to have some funding for our capital. I really hope that the leaders in Albany will realize that we need funding for capital because, in my view, the future does ride with us, not with me, but with all of us. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great day. David, over to you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, who'll be followed by Christopher Greif.
Good afternoon. Jason Anthony, the Transit Guru. It is good to see $100 million received from congestion pricing within the last 2 months. But we love to see more. But this past weekend, we had a person from the federal government to go to the Garden State and did a very sarcastic move that I will say, and I quote, "Fix the system within hours." But nobody in the Empire State hasn't said anything. But in fact, the Transit Guru will keep speaking regarding the Empire State because the Empire State will not accept those quotes because the MTA does its job and has leaders like Kevin Williams and Jay Patel that secures the funds that the MTA keeps it moving because we don't accept the rhetoric language that that person did in the so-called Garden State. So good job, Jay. Good job, Kevin. And let's let the Empire State keep moving. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday morning.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Greif, who will be followed by Lisa Daglian.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif as ADA Accessibility President. As my colleague has said, is correct, and I agree with him. But at the same time, also, that our finance is doing well, congestion pricing is going well, but accessibility now going in to get more stuff in there. I just hope in the future, when we do accessibility stuff like Omni reduced fare, we can also still discuss the 30-day pass, because it does help the families with disabilities, seniors, who like to do the monthly because they have to keep budgeting up their budget, which is a very well said and a really well do. And I will say this, that some people might disagree, some people might agree, but the main thing is everyone's got to realize that accessibility is part of us. And a lot of us who uses the trains and buses need to make sure that ramps, elevators, Any signages that are ADA accessible, Braille, needs to be fully updated. And I agree with my other colleagues, because we need to move forward, not backwards. And where I'm hearing is a lot of saying, oh, they're stealing the money. That's not here. I don't see that. And what I see is I don't see officials attending, or they're watching. I hope they are. But the finance is there for a reason. There are committees for this, and we need to continue advocating for the future of accessibility, including the railroads and Metro North as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian, who will be followed by Alita Dupree.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Daglian, the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. There's some positive news to usher in spring. Operating and passenger revenues up, ridership's up, tax receipts are higher than expected, congestion pricing revenue is strong, other toll revenue is down, and that's good because traffic is down. Fare collection's up on subways and the Long Island Railroad thanks to efforts to reduce fare evasion. Of course, there's still work to do, but it's moving in the right direction. Some numbers are less rosy, including cost overruns that might be mitigated by hiring, especially at transit. Passenger revenue is still lower than pre-pandemic levels. There is some interesting information in the 24 procurement report. The MTA spends money not just in the city, region, or the state, but across the United States, which tracks with reInvent Albany's analysis of the economic benefits of the MTA, which brings us to the capital plan and its criticality to riders and the region. On Friday, we stood with Governor Hochul and our colleagues in advocacy, including new friends from San Francisco, in support of congestion pricing. The cameras are staying on. Traffic is down and business is up. Funding for projects like 2nd Avenue subway extension is flowing and contracts are being let. We'll keep our support strong and voices loud as we continue to see the benefits being reaped. Now, fully funding the 25 to 29 plan is essential to keeping the MTA's finances and infrastructure in a state of good repair. As our elected leaders in Albany tussle with how to fill the giant hole in the plan, we offer 24 suggestions in our report. Take your pick. An obvious threat comes from Washington. Secretary Duffy, come, ride the trains and buses and experience what we do every day, a system that's safe and reliable, that continues to need steady funding and support. Pulling the rug out will do more harm than good. Please help, don't hurt the millions of us who depend on a transit system every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our final speaker today is Alita Dupree.
Excuse me. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Neal and members. Alita Dupree for the record. She and her with Team Folds can talk about Finance Day. Thank you for setting a date for the sunsetting of MetroCard sales. It's time to move forward. Once we sunset the sales, then we can decide how much longer we will accept the MetroCards for use in the fare gates and fare boxes. And hopefully our customer base will start moving now to convert over to Omni. Because ideally on December 21, hopefully everyone will empty out their MetroCard balances and we can really start moving away from a dual system of fare collection. In the reports I read that we are doing better than budget in a lot of ways with our income. Especially with congestion pricing, which I support and continue to do so. And it looks like we're really managing our program expenses with congestion pricing, because we have to pay for all those cameras and all that infrastructure. It's $500 million worth. But really, the big thing that's coming up soon is floating that $15 billion bond. Yes, we have the $500 million bond that we have floated, and I think we're going to pay that off in fairly short order. But it is that $15 billion bond that once we get the proceeds from that, we're really going to be able to start getting the contracts out on the street and getting shovels in the ground and getting work done. I don't know what interest rates are going to look like, and I think our credit rating is doing fine. But we want to move on that, especially because that will solidify a contract for the collection of the congestion pricing methods. So let's keep the money moving. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public speaking section.
Thank you, David, and thank you all our speakers. And I just want to, if I may, pick up on something Lisa said. Lisa, appreciate that you and your fellow advocates are out there supporting congestion pricing. We're going to hear our second report in a little bit from Jay about how it's doing. It's doing great, as several of the speakers also said. Hear our second report in a little bit from Jay about how it's doing. It's doing great, as several of the speakers also said. But we also know it's not sufficient. And I also want to suggest that your point about inviting Secretary Duffy to New York is a great thing. I'd like to invite him, in fact, to our next Finance Committee meeting. If he would like to join us and talk about why it's not important to support the economic engine of the country in New York sufficiently, I'd be thrilled to have him even get 4 minutes. If David will allow it, I'd like to give him 4 minutes and maybe even more for him to explain why it's not important to support the economic engine of the nation and maybe of the world, which is New York and its suburbs. So thank you for that, Lisa. We'll yield as much time as the Secretary would like, but he has got a pole position here for the next Finance Committee meeting, as long as you're okay with that, sir. Thank you very much. Anyway, can I have a motion to approve the February? Wow. Thank you, David. Second. Thank you. Any edits, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. The next up is the monthly finance performance report. David, could you please take us through the operating section, please?
Thank you. Year-to-date results are through February and are compared to the adopted budget. This month's takeaways, overall February operating results were $174 million favorable, with about 45% of that due to favorable operating subsidy results. Operating subsidies were $76 million favorable, with just over half of that timing related. Paid ridership for all agencies was favorable, but B&T traffic was unfavorable to budget. Following through with that, farebox revenue was $17 million favorable, while toll revenue was $2 million unfavorable. Operating expense spending was favorable by $61 million, or 2.2%. Debt service was $2 million unfavorable, and capital subsidies were $25 million favorable. Operating subsidies were $76 million favorable, with just over half of this is timing related due to local operating assistance, which had been expected in December but we received in January. Results for the mortgage recording tax, the urban tax, and automated camera enforcement primarily comprise the remainder of the favorable operating subsidy results. Paid ridership for all agencies along with B&T traffic was favorable across the board. I apologize that B&T was unfavorable. Subway and bus fare elevation estimates are provided quarterly, and we don't have an update this month. Fares not collected on the Long Island Railroad were 2.3% in February, improved from 4.3% in January, and improved from 6.6% last February. Fares not collected on Metro North was 2.2%, improved from 3.4% last month, and 2.9% last February. Farebox revenue was $17 million favorable, while toll revenue was $2 million unfavorable. Subway farebox revenue was $9 million favorable, while combined bus, New York City Transit MTA bus, was unfavorable by $2 million due to lower average fare per passenger. Long Island Railroad was $7 million favorable, and Metro North was $2 million favorable. Labor expenses were $7 million unfavorable. Outside of timing-related impacts, payroll is favorable by $29 million, while overtime was unfavorable by $45 million, primarily due to vacancies, but also reflecting necessary response to weather-related conditions in February. Non-labor expenses were $56 million favorable. Paratransit service contracts were unfavorable by $18 million due to higher trip volume. Electric and fuel costs were combined $3 million favorable due to lower usage, and variances for other categories are mostly timing related. And there's more information in the financial performance report.
Questions for David on the operating budget? Okay, I have one. David, I see a really nice uptick in the MRT. Can you comment on it? Is this an emerging trend related to the real estate world, or is this just a blip?
What I would say right now is that every month differs. What we've been seeing in terms of the cash that we received this month, which was last month's activity, it's basically flat with budget. So
Okay.
the last couple of months of upticks we did not see, although we didn't see a decline for the current month that we'll be reporting next month.
Okay, well, we'll wait for a little more of an emerging trend then before declaring victory in the real estate world. Olga, finance portion, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. This month's capital financing report includes details of 2 transactions that we priced since our last meeting. Is this better? And an $800 million bond anticipation note sale that we're planning for early April. The notes will finance transit and commuter projects. Before I will take questions, I just want to note that we've seen quite a bit of an increase in borrowing rates over the first 2 weeks of March, both in Treasury and municipal markets. We think this was mainly due to the uncertainty caused by the tariffs and the concerns that tariffs could be both inflationary as well as can slow down economic growth. The market showed some signs of recovery and stability when we priced our refunding transaction last week, but we ended up executing a smaller bond deal than we originally planned. And while we couldn't achieve everything that we set out to do, we still delivered $30 million of net present value savings with that transaction.
Great, and thank you for that, driving that savings. Every little bit helps, so thank you very much. And now on to the, I guess, almost the piece de resistance of this meeting. It'll become more routine as time goes on, but this is the second reporting of congestion pricing's progress. Our co-CEO, Jay Patel, please give us the...
You've promoted me.
Co-CFO, sorry. Don't tell Jano, please. Please, oh my God, sorry. Strike it from the record. Apologies. Co-CFO, Jay Patel, please, the floor is yours. Yeah, she's jumping over you and she's moving up. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to review the February results for congestion relief revenue and expenses. Very similar to January, which had 27 days. February was a full 28 days of the month. Going forward, we'll have 30 and 31, so they'll increase. February revenue was $51.9 million. That's $3.3 million higher than what we saw in January. The revenue breakdown is 66% is from passenger vehicles, 24% is from taxis and for-hire vehicles, 9% from trucks, and 1% from buses and motorcycles. Similar to January, 95% of that revenue is during peak times and 5% is off-peak. On an expense basis, very similar to January, there was $9.5 million of operating costs plus $2 million for mitigation accrual, totaling $11.5 million. Overall, net operating revenue for the month of February was $40.4 million. That compares to $37.5, which was January, so it's a $2.9 million increase over the January revenue, net operating revenue. What does that tell us? That tells us that we're on track to deliver $500 million of net operating revenue from congestion pricing. Overall, on a net operating basis, year to date, we're at almost $78 million of net revenue that will be transferred to the lockbox for use during for capital projects.
David, question.
Is that revenue collected or is this expected?
Sure. So most of the revenue is collected, right, from Easy Pass. Tolls by mail is a smaller percentage of the total revenue, which will come in as we bill our customers at the end of the month, which the bills for February are going out now, and then we get collection between 30 and 60 days after.
So it's not reflected in the numbers you just presented?
It is reflected. We
Okay.
accrue based on expectations of collections. So there is a little bit of fluctuation, but we've assumed a collection rate similar to our normal bridges and tunnels, Easy Pass, and tolls by mail rate. And then on the for-hire vehicles and taxis, they have a little bit of a delay, which is a 30-day delay for payment receipt based on the close of the month.
Other questions? Well, look, Jay, thank you for that short but very poignant report. We have created a novel new revenue stream that is 100% dedicated to the capital improvements necessary for this region, and bit by bit we are meeting our commitments. In the previous committee, which I was not able to join, they unfurled this beautiful chart. I don't know if everyone saw this. This is what we're paying for. This is what all those drivers are helping to fund. And it's a really important component, but not the only component of what we're going to need to fund this capital plan. But thank you for doing that, Jay, and thank you for the work that this board and the advocates have made to make congestion pricing a reality. Okay, moving on. Jay, we've covered that. David, action item, please.
The item requests the MTA Board's authorization to file with the State of New York the annual MTA All-Agency Procurement Report for 2024 as required under Section 2879 of the Public Authorities Law. The report provides information on contracts which were awarded, active, and/or received payments in 2024 by agency. Jim McBride from MTA Procurement is here if there are any questions.
Okay, any questions for Mr. McBride on submitting this report to the state? May I have a motion to thank you, David. Second. Ada. Thank you. No, sorry. Either you're gonna first it or you're gonna second it. That's it. Sorry. Unless we change state law, Norman can't do it. So, all right. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention. Motion passes. James, please go ahead and press send on the report. Let's go to information items. Back to you, David.
The MTA Prompt Payment Annual Report for 2024 is presented to the Board to comply with the New York State prompt payment legislation, which requires the MTA to issue an annual report within 90 days after each fiscal year ends, and to file that report with the State Controller, the State Director of the Budget, and the chairs of the Senate Finance and Assembly Ways and Means Committees. Interest payments amounting to $226,541.16 has or will be made for the January to December 2024 period. A copy of the report to be filed is included in the Committee of Materials, and Roy Gray Stewart, Deputy Chief of Financial Operations, is available via Zoom if there are any questions.
All right, thank you, David. Lizette, information items for transit, please.
There are two information items for New York City Transit as follows. The first is a request that the board approve the award of a competitive RFP to E-Tech Simulation Corp. For the purchase, installation, and maintenance of 4 bus operator simulator systems for a term of 6 years plus 2 two-year options for continued maintenance. The second item is a request that the board approve the exercise of an option to extend a personal services contract awarded to Trillium CNG for the operation and maintenance of compressed natural gas fueling facilities for the Department of Buses and MTA Bus Company for a period of 3 years. There are no procurement information items for Metro North Railroad, Long Island Railroad, Bridges and Tunnels this month. I now turn over the microphone to Evan Iceland from C&D to brief you all on C&D procurement.
Thanks, Lisette. So this morning at the Capital Program Committee, I presented the Project Management Consultant Services contract for the Second Avenue Subway Phase 2 project. It's a contract in the amount of $186.6 million. We're proposing award to the joint venture of AECOM and HNTB. It was a publicly advertised and competitively solicited contract. It was procured using the Brooks method, which is the it's the federal requirement for federally funded engineering consultant services contract. It's a one-step qualifications-based procurement method that we used. And then notably in this contract, there's a performance evaluation program, so the consultant can get an increased or decreased fee based on his performance. And then there's also incentives and disincentives tied to key milestones so that this consultant will see incentive payments if he can bring in the various milestones early, including revenue service, or liquidated damages if he fails to meet those dates.
Any questions? Obviously exciting that we're moving forward and have our contract, and it's big enough to require 2 large players at the same time to partner up. So thank you for that, Evan.
Thank you.
Okay, monthly consolidated reports are in the committee books, and for the first time ever that I know of, we will have David Floyer join us remotely for real estate. He is on the
Thank you.
Zoom. He is in the virtual land.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Real estate has one administrative and two transactional action items for consideration and approval. The administrative action item is the MTA's all agency real property disposition guidelines and all agency personal property disposition guidelines required to be submitted to the board by the Public Authorities Law, sections 2895 and 28. The second item is transactional. It's for MTA New York City Transit, and it's a lease with Raina 2 LLC for parking and material storage in support of the Transit Central Electronic Shop in Queens. The third and final transaction item is for MTA Metro North, and there's a license with Muncie Developers and Builders Inc. for parking and access to their adjacent property along Commerce Street
David, we're gonna,
in Spring Valley.
David, you're cutting
There
in
is
and out.
one information item, which is to report on agreements, and that, sir?
You're cutting in and out. Maybe David, maybe
Here
our
we go.
David locally here can read it.
Sure.
And if there are questions, we'll come back to Florio.
I'm going to go back into the second item, which is when David started cutting out. The second item is for MTA New York City Transit and is a lease with Raina 2 LLC for parking and storage material in support of New York City Transit's Central Electric Shop in Queens. The third and final transactional item is for MTA Metro North, and it's a license with Muncie Developers and Builders, Inc. for parking and access to their adjacent property along Commerce Street in Spring Valley.
Let's hold it there, and I'll take the vote, and then we'll.
That information,
David, back to David. I don't know if you could hear Haida's question.
Where in Queens? I'm not really sure. It's near Flushing, perhaps. I think I'm not certain. It's in the staff summary.
All right, you'll get, I don't have, you'll get back to me.
you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yes.
Maybe we'll hold that. If you want to abstain from that vote, if you want to abstain from that, we wouldn't have a quorum. So maybe we'll just hold. Why don't we just, if you want to do, why don't we hold that vote then to the full board meeting? If you're okay with that, Paige, okay. So we're going to just hold that item off. Maybe we'll pull the Raina off, and maybe then the other two. Are you comfortable with? Haida? Okay. So let me take a motion then on the Muncie deal and on the all agency disposition guidelines. I have a motion. Thank you, David. Second, Haida. Questions? What? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Information item, back to you, David Keller.
There is one information item, which is the report on agreements entered into directly by the Real Estate Department pursuant to board policy. That report includes the renewal of the Vanderbilt Tennis Club in Hall D of GCT and a lease with Penn Concepts for 2 food and beverage retail usage on the mezzanine at 34th Street Herald Square Station. And David is happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for David? I will just say that having heard a bit about this last week, it is exciting to have new retail uses at 34th Street Station. That's an area that is generally absent of commerce, but lots of other activity that's not great. So hopefully the commerce will help push out some of the less good activities in the area. And thank you, David Florio, for not only joining us, but putting that real estate product together. So thank you.
Thank you.
We've voted on that. Any new business for the committee? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Thank you, David. Second, Haida. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. See you Wednesday for the full board meeting.